Are you an aspiring podcaster who struggle to figure out what platform to use because there are so many different social media platforms out there? And if you answer yes to that question, this video is going to answer what platform to use. In addition to that, what platform to start with if you are launching your podcast with confidence. So let's go ahead and get to the episode. My name is Terrell Humphrey and welcome to the Failures Knowledge Podcast. Over the last half a decade, we produced over 893 podcast episodes while helping 23 entrepreneurs launch their podcast with confidence. And the biggest question that I often get is, what platform do I use? So today we're going to talk about that because there are many different platforms. And today we're going to talk about which one to focus on as you are starting your podcast today. So point number one, let me go ahead and get it started. Let me start sharing my screen. Hold on. There we go. Point number one is to pick. Hold on. I'm not even going to say pick. It's to start with one. Okay. Start with one. Like one platform. Okay. You got Instagram, you got Facebook, you got LinkedIn, you got TikTok, you got Twitch, you got Substack, you got X, you got, I'm forgetting two of them. Anywho, you got all these different social media platforms. Oh, YouTube, 8. And then one more was, let's say Snapchat. So you got all these different platforms. And honestly, they kind of do the same exact thing, but I give you a prime example. TikTok, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, they focus primarily on short form clips. YouTube, you can do a long form podcast. LinkedIn is really for like written article posts or short form clips as well. Snapchat is for like the everyday life. There's so many different platforms. When I started off with YouTube. And over time, I'm like, okay, what does that mean? YouTube has all the components in it. You learn what thumbnails are, you learn what titles are, you learn how to create videos, you learn how to edit videos, what I did while I was along my journey. And throughout this journey, I was like, oh, okay, starting with YouTube, help me understand all the other platforms, because YouTube has a long form component to it. In addition to that, it has where you can upload shorts, you can upload clips, you can upload different videos to the platform. So then when I went to this course, it was in California when I was when I was stationed in the Marine Corps. I went to this workshop and they used this terminology called omnipresence. They use this terminology called omnipresence. And I'm like, what is that? That was like, you gotta be everywhere. But I'm like, why? That was like, well, you want to meet your customers where they are at, because you never know where they're gonna come from. So to that day, I'm like, okay, I gotta be everywhere. But being everywhere was a challenge because it's like, man, this is really overwhelming. One platform does one format, another platform does another platform does another format, and they're so similar, yet they're so different. And so identifying what platform to start with, I started with YouTube. The reason why I started with YouTube is because of this. Is because at first I didn't know I was going to learn all of this, but I learned it over time. It helped me understand how to communicate with my audience. It helped me understand what to speak about. It helped me understand how to position myself. It helped me understand that a lot of content can go up. So what this did for me is that when I started with one platform, I was less overwhelmed. There's more than 9 plus platforms. You got 9 plus platforms. Whatever platform you pick, it doesn't matter the platform. What matters is that you pick one and learn how to be more consistent with it. You learn what they are looking for. You learn what to post. You learn how to post. You learn how to edit. When you understand the basics, you can go across different platforms. The reason why you have to start with one is because there are many to start with. When you pick one, understand that you are on your path, and this is how you learn more about not just launching your podcast with confidence, but how to market yourself effectively. When I started to market myself effectively, people started to say, like, man, like, I see you putting your videos up, I see you doing your podcast, I see you creating content. And I didn't know it was called marketing myself at the time. I just thought it was just me doing it, just me learning it. But what I recognize is that when I started with one, I wasn't trying to figure out everything. I was trying to figure out the one platform. The one platform removed the stress. The one platform removed the overwhelmness. The one platform removed the doubt. Like, man, can I actually be consistent? What I recognized during that moment is that yes, all the platforms are really important because everyone is not on YouTube. Everyone is not on TikTok. Everyone is not on Facebook. Everyone is not on Instagram. All your customers are spread it across different platforms. Nonetheless, when you start to understand one platform, you can apply it to different other platforms. Why? Because they're technically the same exact thing. They're technically the same exact thing, same exact structure. Like, they want people to go on these platforms and to engage with the platforms, to do all these different things. And so the platform, hold on. The platform equals a voice. You are creating a voice for your business. If you're a multifamily investor, if you're a business owner, if you're a small business owner, it doesn't matter your business. What matters is that you're putting yourself out there. Excuse me. And it used to be so confusing. I'm like, every time I get on social media, somebody's winning. Like, somebody is winning, right? Let's say win. Let's say will. Hold on. Somebody is winning. They're winning at something. What's going on? They're winning at something. They're doing something. But then what I recognize over time is that, wait, they're not just celebrating their wins. They're literally celebrating their moments. In addition to that, they're marketing what they're doing. They're marketing what they're talking about. They're marketing their losses. They're marketing their wins. They're marketing what's working for them. And then I'm like, wait, hold on, winning. It's not always a celebration, but they're posting what they want us to see. And then when they post what they want us to see, it's like we're seeing their wins. We're seeing their losses. We're seeing what they're doing. So what this taught me is this, is that winning, hold on. Winning publicly is marketing. Winning publicly is marketing. Losing publicly is marketing. Consistency is marketing. And so when I started to recognize, I was like, oh, all these platforms are very similar. But when you start with one, you learn how to share your voice. You learn how to communicate. You learn how to connect with others. You learn how to put yourself out there. Oh, putting yourself out there is a way to market yourself. I hate I want to have a flyer close by. Oh, yes, I do. I got this flyer right here. I want to share this one right here. Okay, I got this flyer right here. This is a form of me putting myself out there. This is a form of me saying, like, hey, I do podcasting, and if you're a multifamily investor and or a business owner and you want to market yourself effectively, make sure you reach out to us. It's right here. Make sure you reach out to us. Marketing is putting yourself out there, whether you win, whether you lose, but you have to talk about your business. I'm getting more comfortable talking about the business that I'm doing because I believe in the product and the value that we deliver. Why? Because if I don't talk about it, how are people going to know anything about it? See, picking one platform, not just saying I'm going to pick this one social media platform. No, picking one platform is figuring out how to tell your story. Picking one platform is learning how to put yourself out there. Picking one platform is learning how to market yourself effectively. When you learn how to market yourself effectively, people start to come to you and say, I've seen you been doing this. Can you help me with this? And it took me a long time to fully understand what that actually meant. What that meant is this. Marketing is like the foundation. It's the foundation of a business. And when I start to understand it, I'm like, a lot of people has to market themselves, not just market themselves to talk about the business that they're in, talk about the testimonials, talk about the services, talk about what's working for them. I just went on X, formerly known as Twitter, and I went on this platform, and the first video that I saw, it was a dude opening a Smoothie King, and he was talking about bringing the audience along the journey, documenting what's working, what's not working. What is he doing? He's not documenting the process. He's bringing us along the journey. Why? Because as we are along the journey, we become fans. Hold on. That's a way to market yourself. That's a way to put yourself out there. That's a way to connect with others. You see, it's not just about you putting yourself out there with no plan. You're putting yourself out there so people can be invested in what you have to offer. When I saw this video, he literally just bought a building. Hold on, I'm gonna read that. I'm gonna rewrite this. He literally just bought the building and there's nothing in there. There's literally nothing in there. But then he was like, I'm going to bring y'all on a journey. Okay. What is he doing? Okay, point number one, he already picked his platform. He was on X. I don't know if he's on other platforms. Nonetheless, what is he doing? He is marketing himself. He's documenting the wins. He's documenting the losses. He's bringing the audience along his journey. Why? Because your journey is what builds that connection. Hold on. Recently, over the past weekend, I was like, all right, cool. Let me just take like a couple days off just to figure out what I was doing. And when I took the days off, it gave me more clarity because I was like, okay, I'm focused on storytelling today. Because it's not just about launch your podcast with confidence, although that is my business. Like, that's how we help multifamily investors and entrepreneurs. We help them launch their podcast with confidence. But it's not just about podcast. It's not just about confidence. It's about telling your story that will bring people along your journey. That will bring people along your journey, because people is what makes your business, marketing, sales, promotion effort count. Because if you're not putting yourself out there, how are people going to know anything about you? You see, picking one platform doesn't just start with picking a social media, a place, a location that you want to be at. It's identifying how you're going to market yourself. It's identifying what story you're going to share. It's identifying sharing your story. And let me go ahead and drink some of this water. You see, when I started podcasting a half a decade ago, I didn't recognize the importance of storytelling. Storytelling is a form of marketing. My wife and I went to Disneyland a couple months ago, and we went to Disneyland. They had the history on a video. Like, they was playing the history of Disney, like 1934. I'm paraphrasing on the dates because I'm in the exact dates. Nonetheless, they playing the videos, and they sharing the timeline, and they sharing what has happened, and I recognized this. I was like, wait, hold on. They started with something. Hold on. 60, 1970, so on and so on. Okay. They started with something. Disney started out as content. Disney started out as videos. Disney started out as short films. Disney started out as creating that type of awareness. You see, content, videos, short films is a form of marketing yourself. As I looked at this history, this is called history. This was like history that was already established. And as I'm looking at it, I was like, They started with a platform, or they started with content, and that content grew into a park. A content grew into a place where people can come and visit and have fun. Content grew into where people are little fans of the characters. But how do they become fans of your character? How do they become fans of your story? How do they become fans of your business? You got to be the one that tell it. Not just through podcasting, but you had to figure out a platform to share your story. But as you're sharing your story, you are marketing yourself. You're not just winging the story that you're telling. You're telling the story about yourself so others can learn more about you. Oh, hold on. You see, history equals marketing. Okay, prime example. There's a head football coach named Coach Prime, and I literally was about to watch a documentary on his journey yesterday. Documentary is what is happening from like where he was at, where he is now. I was gonna watch that, but I tell you this: picking a platform is not just about picking a location where you can put your content at. It's picking a place where you can learn how to tell your story. Coach Prime learned how to tell his story, and when I start to recognize that, I said, "Ooh, this is a form of marketing." Why? Because I'm investing into the story. I'm investing into what they're saying. I'm investing into the history. I'm invested into what has happened. You see, just because Disney did it doesn't mean I can't do it. Oh, hold on. Just because Disney did it doesn't mean I can't do it. What it means is that I have to start with a platform, have to start with a video, have to start with a podcast, and be okay with sharing my story, because that is what creates the marketing. Come on. Point number two we're gonna talk about is to share your story daily. Is to share your story daily. Why? Because if your story is not shared, people can't learn more about you. You see, I used to think posting online was like a waste of time, quite honestly, because I'm like, man, I'm not generating no revenue. Yeah, people are watching. People are saying that they following me. Oh, wait. People are saying that they following me. People are saying that they are listening to me. People are literally seeing me every day. So then I got to think about it differently. I was like, wait, hold on. What does that actually mean? What does that consist of? What that consists of is that people are paying attention. They're paying attention to what I'm putting out there. And so for a long time, I was like, man, I just don't want to just create content. I just don't want to like put myself out there. But what I was missing was the relatability. What I was missing was the connection. What I was missing was that I was marketing myself. I might not have made sales when I started to podcast, but over time the sales will start to come in, because now I know that I help multifamily investors and entrepreneurs launch their podcasts with confidence so they can market their business effectively. It's not just about creating content. It's not just about getting in front of the camera and communicating. It's not just about going to the studio to record the content. It's not just about putting yourself out there so people can like, follow, and subscribe. It's more so of when you put yourself out there, you are marketing your business. And I even talk about what we talked about at first. So the first point that we talked about was that you got to pick a platform. Next point that we are talking about now is to share your story daily. It don't matter what story, what platform you picked. What matters is that you learn how to share your story effectively, so people can start to be invested into your journey. People want to be invested. You see, I thought sales was like a bad thing. I thought sales was like sneaky. You're gonna do this, and I'm gonna get this for quite honestly, I just didn't understand sales. Then I looked at it from a different perspective. I'm like, okay, if Disney can sell a lot of products, have a park, sell the rides, sell the food, sell, why can't I sell anything? You see, they believed in their product because their marketing spoke for themselves, or spoke for the company. Excuse me. Their marketing put themselves out there. Their marketing told different stories. Their marketing created an audience. So the more people are watching you, the more people are saying, I'm investing into your story. Somebody say, the viewers gotta know why I'm doing what I'm doing. Oh, that's golden. The viewers gotta know why I'm doing what I'm doing. Why? Because if the viewers don't know, in fact, if you don't know, how the viewers gonna know? It's not just about picking a platform so you can create the content. It's about picking the platform so you can learn how to share your story. Hold on. You see, podcasting is my platform. Podcasting is my lane. Why? Because I'm understanding that once this is out, it's out. In addition to that, online has a bigger impact because it can reach more people. Here's the additional part to it. It's not just online. It's when people see me online and they see me in person, that connection starts to build. Hold on. Now everything is starting to make sense. Why? Because the attention comes from the video. The attention comes from the videos. It comes from the videos. Hold on. I can't see your name. Tabahin. I don't know if I said that right. I show shooting guns on YouTube. Oh, that's crazy. On YouTube for the ones that can't, and my story as a Marine. Simplify, brother. Simplify. And what I see, that's a form of marketing. Some people are. Oh, shout out to my buddy. Dang, his name. He owned his own gun shop. Ray. Shout out to Ray. When I start going to school for business management, and my buddy Ray, he has his own business. Like every time I see him, he talks about his business. In class, he's talking about his business. In the hallway or on break, he's talking about his business. And when we about to leave, he's talking about his business. And I'm like, man, why are you talking so much about it? He's a Marine too. And what I recognize, what's going on, family? What I recognize is this, is that it's not just about talking about your business. It's about marketing your business effectively so people can learn your mission, so people can learn your story. Hey, man, what is all that? So people can literally understand your impact. And I tell you this, it's not just about the impact that people are not seeing. It's the impact that you are sharing because you are playing the videos. What it do, man? I don't know what is going on with all this heart stuff, bro. Like, I didn't even touch it. I tell you this, it's not just about putting yourself out there. It's about connecting with others. Hold on. Used to do sales. You sell yourself, not the product. Hey, I definitely agree. You sell yourself, not the product. Man, there's a book. When I was in the Marine Corps, there was a book, and it was called Selling Yourself. Now, in my mind, that title sounded really wrong. It sounded so wrong. And as I was reading it, I didn't fully comprehend what it was talking about, but I got ashamed when people start to see it because it said something about selling yourself. I'm like, selling yourself? It sounds like I'm literally like selling myself. You know what I mean? Like in a, I don't know, I hearted the stream. Hey man, quit harding the stream, bro. Man, I would know how to turn it off now. And when I was reading the book, and people was like, what are you reading? I said it's a book called Selling Yourself. I didn't even know how to explain it, but I felt judged because they looked at me different. I'm like, bro, why you look at me different? But when I learned more about sales, it's not. I can't see your name, so Tabajan. I can't see your name. My bad, bro. But what this did for me is this. First off, people not buying your product; they're buying you. But it took me a long time to recognize why they was buying me, or why they was like, I'm going to use a different terminology, why they want to work with me. And I'm like, man, why? I don't get it. In sales, what I started to recognize when I started working with my mentors back in California, Mike and Briglio, Steve Anderson, when I started to work for different organizations and volunteer for Action Zone and different programs and so on and so forth, they sold me their dream. They sold me themselves, and it had me invested into the mission that they was doing. So then I'm like, okay, this content over here is important. It's not just important, it's critical. Why? Because if people can't see proof, it didn't happen. I don't know what I was watching. But that was like, if it's not recorded, it didn't happen. I'm like, huh, that's a good point. That's an interesting perspective. That's an interesting perspective, because if we go back in history, when I was in high school, I went to Little Rock, Arkansas, Little Rock Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas, and they talked about the Little Rock Nine. They talked about the segregation. They talked about what happened in the city. Now, if it wasn't documented, if it wasn't recorded, if it wasn't published, if it wasn't put out to the world, if it wasn't communicated, how would the next generation know anything about what has happened in the 1950s? Like, what? What are you talking about? That documentation is a form of marketing. They was marketing the segregation. They was marketing how non-black people went to all-white high school, and then they broke the barriers and say that we want to be educated, but we're gonna go through the fire. I even got a book, and it's called right here, Melba Patilio Bill. She was one of the Little Rock Nine who attended the school back in 1957. 1957. It's literally 2026. Almost 2027. In 1957, this is a form of marketing. Why? Because it's history in words. Somebody, I don't know what video that I saw, but that was like, if you want to hide information from black people, put it in a book. And I was so confused about it. I'm like, why you need to put it in a book? They said, because people won't read. You see, it goes back to what we're talking about on how picking a platform is so critical. Picking a platform is critical because you have to learn how to share your story. This is her story from her perspective. And the reason why I got it, because I wanted to read from her perspective. And it taught me something. If you want to learn and start with a platform, be okay with sharing your story. Be okay with sharing your mission. Be okay with sharing your purpose. Be okay with putting yourself out there, because when you put yourself out there, people start to learn more about your mission. You see, sharing your story is more than just a video, right? Hold on. It's more than a video, right? Shout out to Noah Publishing House. They actually helped me publish my first book, which was called Master Your Mind, 10 Tips to Shift Your Mindset. This book, hold on, was another way to tell my story. These videos, these podcasts, these conversations turned into a book. Okay. Let's dive a little bit deeper. Okay. So then I'm like, that's not enough. The podcasts are great. Phase Knowledge is great. I'm sharing my story. Great. Okay, now, what if, just like with Disney, what if I create a documentary? What if I create a documentary? Which I did. This documentary was called Starting with a Dream Documentary. In this documentary, I shared my journey, my life, what I've been through, what I've learned, and where I'm at during that moment. I think it got published in 2025. Okay. That's another platform. So we got book, documentary. Then we got podcast. Okay. What does that mean? Okay, let's go back to sharing your story. Share your story daily. Now, I'm not saying all these different things. I'm not saying you got to create a documentary. I'm not saying that you got to write a book. I'm not saying that you got to start a podcast. But what I am saying is that whatever platform you choose to start with, you got to be okay with sharing your story. You got to be okay with marketing yourself. You got to be okay with putting yourself out there. Why? Because if you don't, nobody's going to do it. If you don't put yourself out there, why would anybody else be invested in what you have to say? Hold on. If you don't share your story, it won't be shared. Hold on. Then let's go a little bit deeper. Then you got speaking engagements, right? Boom. This is called audience. This is called speaker. Then you got speaking engaged. I actually got a talking that's called Launch Your Podcast with Confidence and or Turn Failure into Knowledge. You see, it's not just about getting in front of getting in front of an audience. It's more so of communicating, okay? It's more so of the people that's listening, but they're listening to your story. Why? Because your story has meaning behind it. Because your story is what helps others understand where they're at and where they're working towards. Last point I want to speak on is this. The last point I want to speak on is this. Is to be okay with change. Be okay with change. And the reason why that's the last point is because of this. First 2 points that we talked about is to pick a platform. Okay. Next point that we talked about is to share your story daily. Last point that we are going to talk about. This is the most. Oh my goodness. This is not going to hit the nail on the on what is called hit the nail on the T or hit the. This going to solidify the message. Okay. You gotta be okay with change. Why? Because the same person that I am today. I'm not the same person I am today back in 2018. I'm not the same person today back in 2014. You see, time, I like drawing a clock, you know what I mean? Time does not end. Time just keep going and keep moving and keep going. I can be early. In the Marine Corps, they say, if you're on time, you're late. They say, but if you're 15 minutes early, you're early. Hold on. It's not the fact. Hold on. It's not the fact that you are on time. It's more so that you're changing. Right now it's 9:07. The next minute is gonna be 9:08. I can't stop the time from moving just as much as I can't stop myself from developing. You see, development comes from a choice. I gotta be the one that choose that I want to develop. I gotta be the one that choose that I want to market myself. I gotta be the one that choose that I'm going to put myself out there. You see, it's not just about I'm winging it. It's more so that I'm sharing a story that's going to connect with others. Why? Because it's my story, it's my point of view, and this is the problem that we solve. We help you launch your podcast with confidence so you can market your business effectively. People want to learn from you. Hold on. People want to learn from you, but they can't learn from you if they don't know you. That was good. People want to learn from you, but they can't learn from you if they don't know you. It's not just about podcasting. It's about marketing. It's about marketing yourself effectively. Now, when I go to different conferences, go to different events, and somebody's talking to me, I know they are trying to sell me. I hear it coming off their mouth like, hey, man, you should buy da-da-da-da-da. I hear it. But my biggest advantage was this, and I didn't even recognize it was my advantage, is that I ask a lot of questions. I'm very curious. Yes, you might have this product, but how did you start this product? How did you start this business? Why did you get started? You see, I'm engaged with the conversation. Why? Because I'm letting them market themselves to me. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm trying to create value to the point where you can actually see That all I'm doing is helping you launch your podcast with confidence so you can market yourself effectively. If you're going to talk about the water, talk about the story of the water. If you're going to talk about the water bottle, talk about the story. Why? Because the story is the marketing. Give you a prime example. Right now, I got 5 of these water bottles. I got 3 that's drinking out of. I got 2 that's not open. But every time I get thirsty, I get up, I pick up a water bottle and I take a sip. Why? Because the water is available. So if I want to go out and purchase more, I'm like, man, this quality is good because they actually have 40 water bottles in them. So I be forgetting that I got water bottles up here. Nonetheless, when I go downstairs and get a water bottle or my wife purchases the water, I'm like, I got water to drink. They keep making it. They keep sharing their story. I keep buying. Why? Because it's convenient. It has 40. And I be forgetting that I have a lot of water up here. I typically drink them. But I'll tell you this. The purpose of that story was to create a connection. The purpose of the story was to create relatability. Let me know in the comments if you ever went upstairs or went to your room or whatever and you had multiple different water bottles there. You gotta be okay with change because you're not the same person that you are today that you were a couple years ago. In fact, you're not even the same person that you are yesterday than today. Why? Because time just keeps happening. You're always evolving. You're always changing. You're always marketing. As I said, you're always marketing. Because if you're in business, you gotta market yourself. I worked at Walmart before I joined the Marine Corps. And when I joined the Marine Corps, before I joined the Marine Corps, I was working at Walmart. And when I was working there, I was working in the produce area, right? I actually want to draw this out because it's actually like this was the moment that changed my life. So I was there. These are the shelves, and let's say these shelves, and this is produce. And I was a produce associate. TE. I was a produce associate. So I was stacking, and removing the bad vegetables and replacing it with good, and I was doing that. I happened to stop. I just stopped. Then I looked around. It was like 4:30 in the morning. 4:30 a.m. What's up, darling? It was 4:30 a.m. I don't know why these hearts here. I don't know how to turn it off, so you're gonna have to deal with it. It was 4:30 a.m. and the only people that was there was the workers. Wasn't a lot of customers there, anything. I looked around and I said to myself, I was like, I don't see myself working here for the next 20 years. It's a great career, phenomenal career. But I felt like I wasn't accomplishing what I needed to do. So I went to go talk to a recruiter. When I talked to a Marine Corps recruiter, it changed my life because it gave me change. But here's the caveat. I forced that change. I talked to the recruiter. I reached out to the recruiter. I communicated with him. I followed up. I was being proactive because I knew I wanted something different. Change does not happen until you force the change. That was good. That was another good one. Change does not happen until you force the change. I forced the change, and when I forced the change, I saw the difference. Why? Because now I'm learning how to market myself. So it's not just marketing yourself through podcasting. When you launch your podcast and pick a platform, you're learning how to communicate. You're learning how to share a story. You're learning how to connect. You learn how to be relatable. This is what makes a difference, because when you make the difference, you are connecting with your ideal customers. Your ideal customers will reach out to you. Your ideal customers will say, I like what you talk about. Your ideal customers will actually start to pay you. But now that's a different topic. That's a different topic for another video. But today we're talking about picking your platform and why that's important. So just to recap everything that we talked about in this video, point number 1 is that you have to start with one platform. There are many platforms. Start with one, get comfortable, and learn how to share your story effectively. Point number 2 is that you have to share your story daily. It doesn't matter what platform you pick. Be okay with sharing your story on a daily basis, and eventually you will have something from that. Last one that we talked about is that you have to be okay with change. If you don't force change, change will happen for you until you recognize that it's happening to you. I think I said that right. I think I said it backwards. That is happening to you, but it is happening for you. And when you do this is how you start to market your business effectively. So if you're multifamily investors and or a business owner who struggle to market yourself effectively, shoot us an email at Terrell@failureIsKnowledge.com and schedule a podcast strategy call, because one thing that I recognize is that when you market yourself effectively, you start to share your story in a way people start to connect with you. That was good. Lastly, don't be afraid to fail, because failure is knowledge. Hit that follow and subscribe, and I'll see y'all on the next one.